So we're going to go ahead and get started. Thanks for coming to our 2028 or 2020 summer webinar. All right, so today's agenda, what we're going to be talking about, we're going to be having a little discussion about the Cogitate updates. That will become first, and then we have Geoffrey Geist. We've kind of heard his voice, but he'll give a little bit more information about himself and what's going on with marketing with Cogitate. Then we have this thing called IntelliReports, and you might say, what the heck is that? And we'll cover that when we get there. We just finished a new bank reconciliation module. We want to show that. We want to talk about the changes we've made in the additions to payroll. I need to talk to you a little bit about how our support system is going to work for the phones coming up with the COVID and everything. And then we're going to have kick off a whole upcoming set of webinars that we'll be talking about a variety of things, but we'll cover that. So these are the things we're going to be talking about. So let's dive right in. The Cogitate update. Again, we've been hard at work over this past year trying to get ready for our software to move forward into the future, but we got sidestepped like a lot of people with COVID. So again, we've been trying to work from home but trying to do that minimizing of the interruptions with your phone support and things like that. We still come into the office every once in a while, like today we're at the office to do the webinar because it's quiet. But we were very disappointed about that CRAM meeting being canceled. So here we are doing a webinar. That way you guys are going to be doing what you need to be doing and getting the information from us. So we're kind of excited about having this technology to rely on and have more of these kind of meetings more regular. And then of course, to jump in, we did add a new person to our staff, Geoffrey Geist.
Oh, that works.
Okay, Geist. He's our new chief marketing officer, and he pretty much keeps us on board, and he's kind of like making us look good. If as they say, if we look good, we got to look good. So that's his job. So I'm going to turn it over to him for a little bit, and I'm going to sit and drink coffee.
All right. Well, hello everyone. My name is Geoffrey Geist. And
there you go. You can get more.
Yeah, get a little more in the screen.
I'll hide you.
So yeah, I'm Geoffrey Geist, a graduate of, if you can't see it here, Michigan State University.
I know it's not in Ann Arbor.
I know we're here in Ann Arbor, and it's I'm in enemy territory right now, but I'm doing well. We're making a big impact here. We're having a lot of fun. Started here in June and came over from a PR and marketing firm in Detroit, but I'm here now and I'm very excited about what we're doing here. As you guys can see, one of the first things that I've begun doing is kind of changing and tweaking our look and our feel. So you'll notice the new Pro Fund Accounting logo. Obviously the bubble wave is still there, but we've kind of trimmed everything up and made it look nicer. The color scheme is a little bit different, and a lot of other things are updated and changed. Everything is done to make things look more modern, give a more modern feel to everything, more professional look, to really showcase the value that the Pro Fund Accounting has. We're not going to do too much. We're not going to be doing too much into brand marketing and stuff. Just making this look good, making it look clean and sharp and professional like it should be. So yeah, that is, please let us know what you think about it, whether it's in the chat or afterwards. Please let me know. We'd love any feedback possible. Also, I'm not an engineer. My expertise is in marketing and advertising. I'm no coder. So George, Luke, Brett, and the team, we're all gonna.
That's me.
They're gonna be incorporating these changes into the software in various updates moving forward. So also changing is some of our approach to marketing. So you may hear from us in the next few weeks or months. We're going to seek to gather some marketing data and get some customer reviews. Just so as things change in the industry, we want to hear from you. I want to learn more about you. We want to just know how you guys are using the software, what you guys are feeling. Obviously, we have tons of customer data from from the phone calls and stuff to listen to you guys. But anything that we may not hear from those calls, we'd love to hear that from you guys. I'm going to be reaching out to select people, but if you guys have some feedback for me, let me know, because as I'm kind of shifting gears from a marketing perspective, I want to make sure it's as close to what you guys are looking for as possible. Because if you guys have some needs, but if you guys have something that would work, it more than likely others would think it'll work too. So let me know what you guys think, and I'll be contacting some people for customer reviews shortly. Also, for any customer review that we do, oh goodness, for any.
We always answer your call.
You always got to answer the call, yeah.
Always got to answer the call.
So,
sorry, Jeff.
Yeah, no worries. So, just as a heads up, we are beginning a campaign with the Food Bank Council of Michigan. We've actually just sent out some surveys. We're doing this non-client survey. If someone takes the survey, we're going to make a donation of $5 to the Food Bank Council of Michigan. But for these customer reviews, we're also going to do the same thing. We're going to make a donation to the Food Bank Council of Michigan, just to make sure that people are getting fed in light of COVID. But lastly, as some of you guys know, other softwares are dropping their payroll support, and they're changing up their customer service. So we would love any and all referrals you guys might have from any other road commissions or municipalities, anyone else that you know could use ProFund accounting. We'd greatly appreciate that. And if you guys make a referral to us and we are able to bring them into the fold here at ProFund Accounting, we will seek out a food-based or medical-based charity that serves your township, municipality, or road commission, and make a donation to them. Again, because of during this time of COVID, we want to make sure that we're part of the solution, and so we're going to be using some of our marketing dollars to make sure that you guys are we're making investments into your communities as every township and community grapples with the coronavirus and the effects of the economic shutdown that we're seeing. We want to be part of the solution in whatever way possible. So we have a great software. We want to get it into as many hands as possible. But for more about that great software, I'll kick it back over to George. And I'll be the one that's coordinating all the questions.
Jeff's a Zoom expert, so if you got a question with him, anything is, like I said, he's the one who's monitoring chat. So,
So thanks so much, guys.
Thanks, Jeff. See, he's a great guy, and he definitely keeps us on track of things. If it weren't for him, I wouldn't be doing this today. That's clear. All right. Any questions for Jeff real quick? How about everyone chats a big hi hello there just to make sure chat's running? All right. Give it a minute. If you're like me, you got to find the H key on the keyboard. Hello, thumbs up, things like that. All right. Moving along, we're going to talk a little bit about this thing called IntelliReports. And you can say, what in the world is IntelliReports? And it's a name we came up with, so you won't be able to Google it and find anything. But just so you understand, Crystal Reports, which is what we know and love as our report generator, indicated last year to all their current development vendors that they were no longer going to be supporting embedding Crystal Reports into software by the end of 2020. So, and that's just really support. It's not, they did say, you can still use it until 2021, and then you have to start paying royalties. So we've looked at that and said, wow, we're not really, Crystal Reports has served us very well, but we probably need to get something a little newer, fresher. They have not really updated their development tool set for the last 5 years. So it's just been kind of like carrying on and on and on. So we decided at that point when they notified us that we were going to pick a new report packaging system, and we worked together with a vendor, and we came up with IntelliReports. And we've been doing this for, on and off pieces, parts over a year now, and trying to also convert the reports is a, big task. So most of the reports have kind of a little bit different of a look, but it's the same data, and essentially in the end, it's just ink on paper. So we try to keep things as looking as similar as possible to your existing things, so it isn't such a radical change from what you have. But there's some interesting things that will doing it. And we've already done a bunch of, I think we have 30 some reports that we did get, converted over to IntelliReports at this point. We'll be rolling this out in, I believe, probably September, probably in the middle of September, we'll be rolling out the first set of IntelliReports. So those will be showing up on your desktop. But again, there's a bunch of reports. We have over 400 and some reports, and we're not really planning on doing all 400. A lot of reports were made because somebody wanted an extra column or an extra piece, or had a little different sort order or things like that. And we were able to incorporate that into IntelliReports to make a single report have all that functionality and features to it. So we're trying to, limit down the number of reports. Also makes it easier for you guys to find something. It's like, oh, I know we had this report, but I can't seem to find it because there's 300 other reports or 200 other reports that have a similar name in the report. So it's like, I don't want to wade through all 200 to find the one report I need that gave me that one chunk of data at one time, kind of a thing. So we're trying to, by limiting it down, help, simplify it, basically how our software is able to, show you that data and give you something you can put on paper. So like I said, some reports will not be converted over, and those will, simply just drop off the list. But if you need something that's there, then please let us know. So let's go ahead and show some IntelliReports. I'd like to first give a big thank you to the Van Buren County Road Commission, because we have their database right now when they were using that for this little televised show webinar. But we did change all of their personal information. So the information you're seeing is just fake names and fake numbers and things like that. So nothing personal should be showing through. All right, so let's go into reports. Go to, I like to go to payroll reports. Let's pick payroll earnings report. Sounds like a fun one. I know that one's done. Okay, so basically, like, this is the beginning. It's the same as it's always been. This doesn't change. This won't change for you. I have this new little magic thing on my screen right now called test report, but that's just to run the IntelliReport version. When you see it, when we release the IntelliReports to everybody, when you select PR earnings, it'll just say run selected report, and you will be running the IntelliReport. Is there any questions pop up? Okay, so we're going to go ahead and click the test select. So this is IntelliReports, and you can see it's very similar to the what we done for the crystal reports for setting parameters and things like that. So we're just going to go back a little ways. Let's go back another month just so we have some data. So we're going to go back a month, and then we're just going to go to the end of time. Again, you have the other parameters we can do, but then we're just going to go ahead and run the report. And this is IntelliReports, kind of same thing. The difference is going to be that you're going to see is now an IntelliReport will have the parameters that were used to run a report up at the top on the first page instead of on the very last page. And then we're also changed the IntelliReports has a different way of doing what was considered the drill down. So if I wanted to look at the particular hours that made up his regular time for his earnings at 7:28, I can click the plus, and I'll see all the entries that were used for that. And if I printed that, when I do the printout, it would print his name plus all of what I've expanded. So it's kind of nice like that. I'll roll it back up. Okay, and the reason you see 2 on my screen is because I got one of those super wide, heavy duty 4K monitors. So if your monitor isn't the really high, super high resolution, you still see just the one page on a particular screen. All right, and then we'll show one more report. So So I'll close this and we'll go to General Ledger and we'll show a distribution report. So again, on the distribution report, we're going to just go back a little ways, get some data. Oop, I'm getting feedback, Jeff. You got your speakers on?
Yep.
Okay, very good. All right, and then we'll go to, again, the dawn. Well, we can put a stop date on it. We'll put the stop date as of the 22nd. Yep, and we need to enter the month number. And this was 5/1, so we're going to do the 6th month. Okay, and again, we're showing the parameters used for the date range, and then we're showing the different accounts in the chart of accounts, very similar to what if you had the two together, you'd see that as very similar to the existing distribution report. Again, we're trying to make the reports not have a super brand new look, but a lot of people they can easily visually scan for it because they're so used to the older report. They can go Bing and they can find something that's missing right away. All right, so that's kind of our little spiel on IntelliReports. It's going to be coming. Again, if there's any problems with stuff, we're quick on a fix for the things. So I'm going to go back to the agenda and I'll let this sit for a minute and see if there's anybody posting any questions about the IntelliReports update that's happening. Nothing. Well, you guys are just smart. Nothing?
Nothing.
Okay.
Good.
We're good to go. Well, this is going to be nice.
If you are still typing out your message, we will. Yeah.
We'll come back to it.
We'll come. Oh, when are they coming?
When?
Yes.
I said September. There'll be a release of, I think, 10 or 15 reports in September. And again, you won't know which ones are the new or the old until you actually run that report. But the engine, or if you would, the piece that actually developed or runs the report is done. It's just now making the reports themselves that we're up on. So, it took a long time to get that engine to be able to use the data and get the data correctly and show it right. So now we have that part done. Now it's just making, what report we want to do in the software. Things generally run a little quicker in IntelliReports for some of the report, for some things, and a little slower for others. It just depends on the report. Okay. All right, let's move on to bank record.
When will the old go away?
Just over time. It's not like the old actually goes away. The system will actually have both reporting packages for probably a good year or so, because there's just so many reports, and we want to make sure we get each report done right, so that it's like, okay, this is perfect, and then we can move on to, another report. So after we do a release of a couple reports, then those reports will be ran, people will be running them and using them. And then, like I said, it's like I said, some reports are just going to, plan out, they'll just kind of disappear. If you watch the release notes, we will be putting in the release notes when we put out a new IntelliReport in the report section, and when we remove IntelliReports, or when we remove some of the old crystal reports, if we're not going to do or if we combine together like three, because we have like a lot of reports that have, like I said, there's 5 reports, but there's all just a little different flavor. They're really the same data. And since IntelliReports can do that, in one report, so we may roll up 5 individual reports into one single report. All right.
Cool. Bank
reconciliation. All right, bank reconciliation. Now, this was one of the things that we looked at, and when we first put it out, it was done in a way that we had to make a separate section, so you import your checks into that. It functioned okay, but it was really clunky, kind of felt clunky to use. And so what we've decided to do is go back and re-examine how bank reconciliation works. So it's now kind of fully integrated into your ledger, where there's no separate import export kind of procedure you have to do for the checks that you're doing. But in order to achieve this, a few little things had to change as far as how we handle what you be considered a bank. And this is, I'm not talking about a payroll bank, of course. I'm talking about a physical bank at a bank establishment. So your Ann Arbor Bank, or your Chase Bank, or your First National, or your Fifth National, or anything like that. So basically the idea is that we're going to try to help coordinate the actual bank transactions in our software now. The changes are going to be required. So when this release goes out, which should be, if I remember right, Friday this week. So, we're here to try to say, let's get yourself ready for it. I'll show you what changes are need to be made. Some of you have already done it. Some of you haven't. But just so you know, it does have a couple of extra features that allows our software to do that it didn't used to do before. But in order to be able to do accounts payable and to calculate payroll, you're going to have to implement this change that I'm going to show you to setting up a bank account. But once it's done, once you have it down, it's the change itself to the payroll. We'll go ahead and we'll calculate a set of AP checks, and we'll calculate a set of payroll, and you'll see it's not that much different. It's just a little bit different. Again, though, what it will do is then I'll show the bank reconciliation, and we'll be able to see the final result. All right, so let's go back to ProFund. So go back in the general ledger, and bank reconciliation is under manage. Well, I'm sorry. The first thing we need to do for bank reconciliation is have bank accounts set up. So at the moment I have two. I have Ann Arbor Bank and Cayman National Bank. This is for our offshore retirement. This is so that I can embezzle the money that we needed to embezzle and get it offshore so nobody knows I have that money, because it's in Cayman, in the islands. Anyways, so we go back to Ann Arbor Bank, and if we bring up that, we're showing, as an example, I added another fund to the Van Buren database. So if you're looking at that, that's just so that we show how multiple funds will show up here. But basically, when you have a bank, you need to set what account number in the fund is going to be for that bank. Now, we used to do this with the managed funds. So we used to use, in managed funds, if we go in here and we go to the general fund, we used to use this part, the accounts payable and the payroll cash. That's going to go away when the release comes out. And you're going to have to set up, if you want to have different account numbers, you set up two different banks. One bank pointing to the account number you want to use for accounts payable, the other bank pointing to account number you want to use for payroll cash. And basically, so you understand, the account or the managed bank accounts is simply doing the same thing, but this way, in a lot of places have had this where you might have 3 or 4 different actual physical banks in a single fund, and you may have times when you want to do AP out of a different bank instead of the one that you had set up by the managed funds. So now you're able to specify which bank. So once you have this set up for the managed bank accounts, so this is what I'm asking people to get ready before we do the release. They'll just make it easier, less transition wise. When the release is out, it's like, oh, now I can't do AP, and we have to go through this. But once we have that, then we can go in and do an accounts payable. So I have the 2 banks set up, and so if I go into pay invoices and we click load, we see a new place in here called the select which bank you're going to pay, which kind of makes sense because you're giving it a starting check number. So it really kind of makes sense together. So we're going to pick the Ann Arbor Bank. And I'm going to put in check number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'm going to go ahead and say, okay. And I get a whole bunch of vendors. And I'm just going to go ahead and directly pay. If you do prepay, it works just like before. No changes from really that first point on. Once you tell me what bank you're using, That's the only change really to the AP pay cycle. So I'm just going to go ahead and say pay, click OK. Did the pay, starting check number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's remember that. Okay, so really for AP, there wasn't a huge change other than you just select which bank you're going to be paying the AP checks out of. Now, if I go to payroll and I want to do a payroll calculation, where we set that bank information up is actually in payroll information. When you first set up a payroll information screen now, so if I go to the one payroll that's not calculated, there's a new entry here called select which bank. And again, you pick which bank you want to be calculating with. So we want to use the Ann Arbor Bank. So that will set up the payroll information with it. So I'll save that. And then when I go to calculate a payroll, click load, starting check number. In this case, so bank rec shows it, I'm going to go 54321. And we're going to load a group, and we're going to load the third payroll group. And then we're going to calculate. All right, so we calculated payroll starting with check 54321, and we calculated AP starting with check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now the reason I did that, just so you can see when we go into bank reconciliation, how it's going to work. So bank reconciliation, the screen comes up and you select which bank you want to reconcile. You get your statement date, starting balance. I'm just here playing, so I'll put a $10 starting balance. And of course the ending balance. And this comes right off your bank statement. So the ending balance is, $20, $40, $4, who cares? And then you click on find transactions. And what we've done is we found a way to find all of the deposits you've made to that account number, all of the transactions you've done to that account number, so that you can actually check off and say that these are processed. And as you do that, you'll see the amount of deposit changing, the amount of checks changing. And if I come down here, those are deposits. If I show the checks, I have check number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for the AP side, if you remember. So these were the checks we did there. And then you'll see the checks, the 54321 checks that we had, as well as the direct deposits. So again, it's a much better system because we didn't even used to do direct deposits before, but we do now. And as well, the EFTPS from the federal that you would have sent in, and the EFT for state, because if you're not getting cutting a check for your state, you're doing some kind of electronic fund transfer. And here you can also then check off, that this went through my bank. What will happen is what you click off will equal what the ending balance is, minus the starting balance, of course. If it balances out the difference to 0, then this changes from save to later to reconcile, but I don't really want to try to make out, it'll do it. But what's interesting is the save for later is like, oh, I got interrupted, or, because a lot of times balancing a bank statement is a tedious process and can take a while. So you might get interrupted and you said, okay, I've kind of, verified halfway through it. You can click save for later, and then when you come back in, well, we'll go ahead and do it. You click save for later, and then if you come back into bank reconciliation, when you select the Ann Arbor Bank, it'll come back and show you the ones that you keep track of, the ones that you have, said you have cleared. So that way, you don't have to do it. It's not like you have to do it all in one screen, and if you don't do it all in one screen, that's it. So you can pause and say, hey, I need to go and answer phones, or take care of other things, and you can come back to it. And again, once the balance comes out, the difference comes out to 0, this will change to, it'll say reconcile, the button. And then when you click it, then those transactions will never show up again. All right, so that was a real quick run through of bank reconciliation. I'm not trying to do a full training on it. We will try to have a video on working at, the details of it. But for right now, is there any questions we have on it, Jeff?
Do we have to use this feature, or can we continue to reconcile the way we've been doing it?
I would say I'm not sure if the way you've been doing it is by hand, then yes, of course. But if you've been using our older version of our bank reconciliation, which made in a separate transaction list and things like that, no, that we're going to discontinue the support of that.
That was from Gene Frankovich. Thank you. That answers our question.
Yeah, this one's way better because it's actually directly interfacing with the physical check itself in our system. So what will happen is if you try to do something like unpay AP journal, we're going to stop you now because you have reconciled the check. So we won't let you unpay, we won't let you uncalculate journal if you have reconciled the checks or any of the any of the transactions. So it's going to be kind of a little bit more of a way that once it's been gone through the bank reconciliation, it's like, no, we shouldn't be making a change at all to that.
Cool. Lastly, will all direct deposits come in separately like they do now, or as one total?
Well, the direct deposits will have to come in separately because a lot of times so it depends on your bank and how they handle it, but a lot of banks will send out that information to the actual individual employee. So when you do the ACH file for direct deposits, you actually see each employee listed in your bank statement. Now, if you're doing it differently with a different technology that does it in a way that you just get one lump sum, then unfortunately no, and we only know the individual. We don't know the lump sum kind of thing. Other deposits though, like if you're doing, the cash receipting or things like that, those we've already tried to have you switch those to doing setting up an account to do the deposit. So when you do the make deposit screen, I don't know if you've seen that here. It is, oh, come on, mouse, where are you? Here we are. So if we go to is it payables? I can't remember where make deposits is now. Anybody know where make deposits is? Is that under tools? Make deposits? See, now I need somebody here because I haven't done one in a while. I thought it was under general ledger, make deposits. I'm not seeing it.
Under customers.
Oh, it's under customers. Yep, that would make sense. You're right, because that's receipting.
Thank you, Frank.
Good job, Frank. So you click on make deposits, and again, you're going to be picking on which bank to go to. And then once you hit that bank, it will show you the things that you have in lieu of deposits, so you can make a single deposit to the real bank.
Cool. Another question. How do you enter bank fees, etc., and will they post directly to general ledger?
Right, you post directly in general ledger the bank fees. So if we go back to the bank reconciliation, you will see in here that we have interest posted. Let's see what else we have posted. We have the transfers posted. So these are direct transfer vouchers, if you would, or general ledger vouchers that went to the account number that the bank was set for. So, if you post anything in general ledger, it will show up in the new bank reconciliation, whereas the older version of bank reconciliation didn't show any of that.
Sure. Can we still manually enter credits and debits?
Yes, absolutely. Again, in here I have a tax payment, if you would, which was a direct debit that came out of this account. Whereas I also show the interest that came in. So it just depends on whether it's a negative or positive, essentially, whether it's a credit or a debit when you're posting the entry in the transfer voucher or general ledger journal or one of the other source of entries to the same account number that is for the bank.
Cool. Last question before we move on from Rob. We have separate accounts payable and payroll accounts. Payroll just sweeps money from the main checking account as needed. Will this work with the new features?
Sure. You can either completely get rid of your payroll account, because if you're just going to sweep it back into your standard checking account, you don't need to have two. You can just have the one. Does that make sense? Or is there some other issue you want to do to separate them? We just had the separation before in our software because there's places that had the payroll coming out of like a savings version of their, from the bank. And then the APs came out of course, this, like a checking version, account number at the physical bank. That was the logic beforehand with the fund links. But, a lot of places have merged that together. So there's one mutual fund, if you would, or one big fund at their bank. This way you can have both AP and payroll come out of the same one, or if you do have separate, you can separate them. But what's handy is that if you had to do like a transfer voucher at the end of payroll to move the total amount of payroll from one bank, from one account number in your system to another to kind of show it in the bank, you no longer need to do that.
Looks like it for these questions.
Okay. And again, if you have any big issues with it, we're going to try to put together a more detailed video on this. This was just meant to say, hey, this is coming. Play with it, and we'll hopefully by I'm thinking Monday I'll have the video done on a lot more detail about how this works and operates. But we wanted to show it to you and say, hey, this is coming. This is cool. We really enjoy it. We really enjoyed making this happen versus our old ones, so that we had a better way of getting a chance to have something that would actually balance correctly without a lot of data entry. Okay, so back to our agenda. Now, as if we didn't change enough, I want to cover kind of some of the things that we've done to payroll system in the last year that you may have missed over or not known about. Okay, one of the first things we did towards the beginning of this year was we updated how we do the W-2 creation and make your W-2s. So we change it from the wizard base. So let's kind of cover that. So I go into payroll, I go to create W-2 forms, and then this is a completely different screen. So we're going to go to 2020. And you notice it shows the data almost right away. So you don't have this whole huge things you have to hit calculate for, but we'll go ahead and recalculate them anyways. All right, so we've recalculated all the employees, and you can then select all the employees, select which report you want to run, change what you want to show on the W-3 report. If you want to modify somebody, you can certainly just, you have to uncalculate, check them all. We can go into Yeldon Ripley and modify Yeldon's individual W-2 that we calculated. So we come in here and we create, let's just show the W-3 report real quick. Now this one, the only person we have checked is Yeldon. So if I run the W-3 now, it will just show the sum total of Yeldon is your W-3. So, want to make sure that you have in the new thing, all of them checked when you're ready to go for the official, release of the W-3. So then a W-3 has, all the official. Now the reason it says copy only at this point is because it isn't the end of the year and we haven't released it as official yet. Okay, so that pretty much covers, again, quickly the W-2s. We already have a video on this, I believe, up there, but if not, then we'll get one as soon as we can. Let's see. The other thing that happened with the W-2s is when we put all the changes in for the new W-2 management, we changed how we handle the W-2 information, which is the, whether it's box 12 or box 14 and which deduction code and the value you put in. It looks like some of our customers, we found, whatever reason, it's the update didn't do the conversion correctly. So we're asking to verify everybody to go into their deduction types and verify that. A lot of them will say use box 14 is the issue that we've had. So you verify that if it's not supposed to have one, you do select none and save it. And then you can go to the next one. Like as you're seeing is, box 14, it's not really supposed to have it. Just go through them and say save. That way, at the end of the year, there isn't this big, huge, it didn't have the right box 14 or box 12 pieces. So if like this is health insurance, this might have been a box 12 or really a box 14 and a new, code for it. But again, I don't really know the Van Buren's deduction codes and how they're set up for, whether it's deferred or not. So if I go next, this one's exempt, so it should, it looks like it's got box 14, section 125. So this one is set up right. So again, it's just please just go through each one and make sure that everyone that you update them and set them. So that way, at the end of this coming year, when you run the W-2s, it won't be this big headache that we have to adjust. All right, and then this one I can't really show anything about, but basically what's happened before is when you would go into Payroll Post and we allowed you to go back to a journal that might have already been calculated and make a simple change, like change an account number or make an adjustment to a piece of equipment. We allow you to do that in our software, even though the journal's already been committed or already been paid, I mean. But what used to happen is at the end of the commitment cycle, or at the end of when you recommit that journal, it would go through all the individuals and remove their bank information and repopulate their bank information with the values that you just entered. Well, that sounds like a good idea. The problem is of course, if you go backwards in time, somebody may have retired and you may have made them an inactive employee, or you may have made one of their banks inactive. So if you accidentally recalculated that journal that they did have a bank in, it will, when it recalculates the banks, obviously, because the guy is marked as inactive, we don't calculate a bank for him anymore. And now his bank balance is different. So you may have had this happen before when you go back and look and say, well, wait a minute, this guy had zero when he retired, and we zeroed out his banks, but now he has 200 or 140 hours in his bank. The main reason would be is you probably went back into an old journal for some innocuous reason to change an account number to fix a problem that, incorrect posting, recommitted that journal, and because you had made the employee, either you inactivated the employee or inactivated his bank, you didn't recalculate the bank. So to fix that, we went back and said, okay, if we're going to recommit a payroll journal that has already been calculated, we're no longer going to recalculate the payroll banks. So that should help save that issue. That should help undo that issue. Now, if there was a change you needed to make to a particular bank for an individual, you should do that through just manually going in and making a manual change to that individual's bank, instead of going back to the actual payroll journal to make the change in something that's already been calculated. All right, so is that clear? I want to stop there and make sure that everybody's clear on that, because it's a goofy thing that we wanted to make sure you're aware of, that this change will be rolling out again probably Friday. I'm seeing nothing on the chat. Oh wow, you guys are good.
Some people are typing.
Okay, some people are typing. All right, good.
I would assume so, because that's what happened last time. Thank you. Says Stephanie. Thank you, Stephanie, for being you, Stephanie.
Yeah, Stephanie was the one that said, like, oh man, make this work. She got bit and didn't like the answer we had.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, if some people are still typing, keep on typing away. But
can you take a look at my coffee cup?
I can't adult today. Goodness gracious. Okay. Cool. Not seeing much. So let's.
Okay, so I'm gonna roll on then. All right, benefits. Benefits is a brand new thing that we added, mainly for Gladwin County Road Commission to start with the MERS benefit plan. So it's a new feature, and then Jackson County Road Commission also wanted us to make an adjustment to it, so I'm going to cover those. The benefits is a whole new thing that we set up. So let's go into here. To get started on benefits, you need to click set up a benefit. So I have two set up already. I'll just go and cover retire. So when you set up a benefit, you have two kinds of benefits. I should look at the calc type. We have one that's going to increase an employee's rate. So if they have this benefit, he has like a base rate, but because he has this benefit, we add this base rate plus this new rate together to make his current rate that you pay him at in payroll post. So if you go into payroll post, bring up an employee, he's got, a benefit, he's got two of these benefits, it'll add 10 cents more to his pay or 20 cents more to his pay, per hour. And then, so when you post the 8 hours, he's getting, his base pay that's in employee mate plus any benefit pay that he might be getting at the moment. And then it works also, for the time card system. When you're importing the time cards, when we're calculating what the rate is, we do the same thing. We add up any benefits that he has that are of increased rate type, which is type 2. And then the other benefit that we add, the other benefit type we have is an earnings one. So we take the overall earnings of an employee and multiply it by a percentage factor, and then we post those back as earnings to the system. With whichever code you ask. So we look at what we call the link deduction code for that, and that's a T. So if I calculate T in my list of payroll deductions, then I will use this benefit and calculate during the PR calc a 2% or, well, I don't know what I have it set to. Let's see what I got it set to. Yeah, 2%. I have a 2% earnings that will get posted for this guy. So it will add 2% to his wages, and then do all the tax was based on those. It'll base the taxes with that 2%, but then you'd have it will post as right. You can tell you can set up a special posting pay type, for this, and I recommend you doing that. To call it benefit dollars or something like that, but I just didn't set one up. But you tell us what payroll type you use to post this information for each employee that has it. And then the deduction code is supposed to take that money basically away. So if I calculate 2%, then the deduction code should take away 2%. That way the guy is really just paying the FICA and Medicare and basically the taxes on that benefit. Again, it's something we set up. It works pretty well, but in order to make it happen, we first have to have a benefit set up. Then we go to employee maintenance, and in employee maintenance we have a new tab here called benefits. So if we come into benefit, let's pick somebody. I like Yeldon because Yeldon has a great photo. So go ahead and add to Yeldon a new one of the benefits that we picked. He's going to get the retire benefit, and really that's all you need to do is set it up and say it's active and then save it. So the next time I calculate, if I use deduction T, which is what the benefit was linked to, then when I'm calculating that T deduction, I will add that benefit that was selected or that was made to Yeldon's pay. If that makes a bunch of sense. Hopefully it does. I'm not going to go ahead and try to do a pay or anything like that, but basically the idea is it will generate and add another journal to the payroll that it will post all of the employees' entries into that, as additional earnings to each employee, or as a benefit, if you would. Okay, and there's a couple of reports, I don't remember what they are. But I just wanted to cover that we have it, as well as the new rate way. So if he has a benefit and he's got a rate benefit, if you go into payroll post, it will add to his thing. So and you can see the rate ones because on the setup benefits, or I'm sorry, on the employee maintenance, if I pick Yeldon again, I go to benefits, we show the rates, so if this was a rate one, that would increase his temporary rate, employee rate by whatever we did. I guess I can add one. So if he loaded his rate as $29.43, if I say new, and I add the other benefit one, and I say that, it goes to $29.53 because benefit one is a rate benefit. Okay, so now any questions on benefits? Because that's going to be, that's a quick overview.
First one from Gene. Do all benefits correspond to a deduction?
No, you can create it. You don't have to. The only issue will be is the rate benefits don't have a deduction code because it's not really part of the payroll calculation benefit. So obviously, if you have a rate type one, that's just going to happen. As long as he has it, it's going to get added to his rate. If it's a calculation, then yeah, if it's one that you have to add based on his current pay, which is a which is a payroll calculation benefit, then yes, you do have to have a deduction code. But you can set it up so that the deduction code is benign. So like if you need to add a 5% increase to people's pay based on their current wages, for whatever reason, you could set up a benefit that does no calculation at all, or sorry, deduction code that has no calculation at all. It basically would calculate normally as $0 or something. Then you would tie that benefit to that deduction code. Because the only way we know what benefits to actually calculate during a particular payroll cycle is, again, what deduction codes you select at the beginning of that payroll calculation. So we don't really know, so we can set one up that like that, and it shouldn't be that big of a deal to do. But it doesn't have to take the money away. It's just normally that's what happens right now.
Cool. Great. Can we override the global benefit percentage for employees' benefits individually for each employee?
Yes. In the setup, there's a way that you can specify, okay, if the global is supposed to be 2%, but you got this magic employee like yourself that actually gets 5% because you're special. Yes, you can go into, when you put the benefit on your employee screen, there's a place where you can change what percentage it will use, and it will override the global.
Mm-hmm. What is an example of why we would use this?
MERS. MERS has a benefit contribution retirement that adds 2% to the employee's pay. Don't ask me why. If you want the details on that, Gladwin County Road Commission is who sparked us to do this change. So you may contact them and find out, what kind of MERS calculation plan they have that required it to add 2% of their gross pay back into the employee's pay.
Gotcha. So Gene is following up. So if we are a defined benefits, we wouldn't need this feature.
I don't believe so. I believe if you're defined benefits, you're not really adding pay to the employee for defined benefits. It's just, it will depend on going into the future whether the defined benefit will continue to be excluded from the tax calculations. I think what's happened is at Gladwin, the MERS says no, the employee has to pay FICA and Medicare tax on the additional, retirement that Gladwin County is putting 2% to their retirement plan, so they need to actually pay the FICA and Medicare on that 2%.
Sure.
So it's like auto insurance. I mean, I don't know if you've done like an auto allowance. A lot of places will have that for the trucks when they do it. We're used to post, or you still, a lot of places still, they just go in and post to an auto pay type, $150, for the guy's payroll. And then they have a deduction code that takes away $150 from the guy. So that way he technically didn't get that money, but he's got to show that money as earnings because it was a benefit that was provided to the employee, but he needs to pay the tax on that benefit.
Last question from Marla. Can you post a lump sum per payroll?
A lump sum, as far as a benefit lump sum? Let me think about that. I mean, you can always post it by hand. Obviously, that's, we've had that for years, but I would say, how would you come up with unless lump sum is the same amount for each individual, it would have to be based on, what the benefits are is based on their current earnings when it's a pay benefit. We'd have to work on something if you've got, you'd have to follow that up with another question, because it would be hard for me to say that you can do a lump sum, because how much does each employee get?
Example, pay in lieu of insurance.
Okay, is it like a fixed amount of money that they get, or is it based on?
Yes, fixed amount.
Okay, so if it's based on fixed amount, I don't know. I don't think we have a way of doing that yet. We can add that. That'd be something we certainly would be glad to add. Changing the calc type to have two. One's a percent, and the second parameter is a flat rate. We could certainly do that. In which case, then, whoever has the deduction code you tie to that piece would get that benefit.
Okay.
I'll have Jeff mark that one because it's a good question. I'll have to post that to Brett to see what he thinks we can come up with.
So Brett is on, and
Is Mona on?
I don't believe Mona is on just yet.
They're going to come on at 10:10. So
Gotcha. So yeah, we'll do the lump sum per payroll in. We'll reach out to you personally, Marla.
yeah, we'll touch base with you and set something up. I mean, we want to do it. I think it's important because I've had the lump sum issue. The problem we've come up with the lump sum issue is usually that most people want their lump sum put directly into a deduction or into a deferred comp or an exempt retirement system. So there's no chance for us to snag taxes on it. And we'll have to kind of, that's always been an issue with our payroll system, that try to post something and not let any money be available for taxes.
Gotcha. Call Linnea, says Marla.
Yeah, I know, Linnea.
Linnea.
Yeah, that's Linnea. Yeah, I know Marla. Linnea has yelled at me many a times about that whole deferred comp stuff.
One more from Brett. Can we tell each earnings-based deduction whether or not it should include benefit earnings when it calculates?
Okay, read that again slowly.
Can we tell each earnings-based deduction whether or not it should include benefit earnings when it calculates?
Yes, I don't think on my screen right now, but we're making this change now, so it'll roll out. We are adding a flag in, let me just see if it is here. It might be here. In deduction types, we're adding a flag. So if I just come into here, I think here it is, include benefit earnings. So if this deduction code, when it calculates, is supposed to include the benefit earnings, when it calculates this, I mean, this is deferred, it's a straight dollar amount. So really it wouldn't have, again, since it isn't a percentage, it's just this flat dollar amount. It's anything that's going to be like a percentage of their base pay. It's whether it should include the benefit earnings as part of that calculation for how much to base the pay on. We have a flag on each deduction code that you can set. And you should go through those. If you're going to add benefit earnings, you should go through and make sure these are set correctly for each one. So whether it includes it, if it's just that square that you see, that means we don't know. Sorry about that.
And Mona is on.
Mona! Okay.
Bless you.
Thank you. Yes, sorry. I totally apologize. Yeah, it's that Corona thing going on.
Oh, good. Well, in that case, I gotta get out of here.
Yeah, just gotta leave now. I just laced in with my Germanology.
Well, if I'm out for the next 3 months, you know why.
Yeah.
All right. So that is it from a question.
From the question today on benefits.
So
All
let's
right.
keep it rolling.
Okay, so that was payroll. Back to our agenda. Next, I want to talk to you guys a little bit about what's going to happen with our support system. And most of this is due to COVID and people working at home, but we want to let you know that one of the features that we're going to temporarily remove is the ability to just directly dial someone. It's been kind of an issue on some people because they think, mainly from it's kind of our lack of ability to try to maintain our phone system to say, I'm going to be on vacation from this day to this day. So when you're trying to reach somebody, you don't know that they're not going to be there for 2 weeks, or they're sick with Corona at home, or they're helping somebody else. So we're going to be temporarily removing that ability, but it also helps our team because we're going to be as we transition from that straight working at home with the COVID-19. It'll help when you call. Pressing 2 is very helpful because then we can track how many calls are coming in and things like that from it. But when you call somebody directly, those aren't tracked in any way in our support system. So we're saying, okay, it's time to just make sure that you are being I can answer a lot of things. A lot of people like to talk to Luke or Brett because they feel like they have the exact answer that they need quickly, but it means the rest of us are having a hard time with doing the right thing, being able to support you guys, because Brett might not be there for a couple of days, or Luke might not be, and then you're waiting for a message back that you're not getting, and you feel like we're not handling you, or helping you in a reasonable way. But if you really want to have a specific person handle your call, we still want to support that in a modified way, where you call in with a 2, you're going to get connected with whoever happens to answer, who's ever available at that point. And if you want to talk to somebody special, then they can use our internal messaging system to try to get in contact with them, to let them know that you want to talk directly to them. But if they can't get a hold of them, obviously the right answer is we try to help you right on the phone call you made, instead of sending an email or something that he may not get, for quite a while. And internally, we sometimes don't know that somebody's on vacation. So it's kind of because they're working from home. So there isn't a huge, it's not like they have to ask them to take a day off. If they need to take a day off, I told them just take a day off. But we don't know that. It's like, okay, you'll call in and try to get a hold of Luke directly or something, and oh no, he's not in for 2 days. That kind of a thing. So to help us better take care of your support needs, we're just going to temporarily remove it. I mean, probably after COVID is back and we're all in the back of the office and things like that work out, then you will definitely probably turn those back on. But for right now, we just need them to be. It's just becoming an issue where I can't track how many calls. I need to know how many calls are coming in, so I need to know if we need to add more staff. And some people are just sitting on their hands because no calls come to them, and because Luke is busy, handling 10 calls because people are directly wanting him, or Brett's handling 5, and Mona and I are sitting on their hands going, geez, nobody's called today, kind of a thing. So we just wanted to address that with everybody. So any questions coming up on that one?
Nothing yet.
Yeah, it shouldn't. It's just an internal thing that we have to deal with, so that, like I said, we want to answer your phone calls when you call and help you when you need it.
And there are some things we can do to communicate better internally.
Yeah,
to do some
we're
stuff.
trying. We're trying.
We're going to be. We're making some changes on that end, but
Right.
The biggest thing is with COVID, we want to make sure that ultimately that someone is picking up the phone when someone calls.
Right. I really don't want our support to go downhill because of COVID.
Cool.
And I really want you guys to, any phone call you make is like I said, even when during the webinar, I answered the phone. So it's, we take it seriously when you call. It's not something that's a side thing or an extra. It's our primary focus. All right.
All right.
No other questions on support?
Nothing thus far. If you got one, then let us know.
Yep. And we'll certainly help you. Okay, so let's talk about our upcoming webinars. Okay, obviously we're learning on our webinar software. We picked Zoom because everybody has Zoom, or a lot of people have used it. We're part of it is, looks like we didn't have a meeting note correctly sent out, but we're learning. But part of that is we want to kick off a whole webinar series to provide, because it's going to be difficult to have everybody come to a single place and have a training session going. We want to offer a lot more of these webinars more frequently to provide training tips for the newer users of Pro Fund Accounting. And if you're a seasoned user and you've been using it for 20 years, you still are welcome to attend it. It's perfectly fine. There's no real limit. There's no cost to you. But what we're trying to do is provide a way that we can give the training that's needed to newer users on particular pieces of the software, without it being a big incursion of cost on your time. Then we also want to do a set of webinars that are going to dive into like just basics of fund accounting. What is a chart of accounts? What is a budget? How do you manage a budget? Things like that talk about, fundamental parts of fund accounting, where it's been, we really haven't talked, we really don't have anything that says, what is fund accounting? Why do we do fund accounting? What makes the difference between fund accounting and business accounting or cash accounting? How do we do accrual? What's accrual? Why do we have accrual? Just basic stuff like that. We want to have a set of webinars that kind of cover those. And again, everybody's invited. We're not trying to say, oh, well, if you want to be part of that, you got to pay us $100,000. No, well, we wouldn't mind the $100,000 at that point. No, we want to provide that because it's just, we answer that question a lot of times on the phone, and we want to have a place where people, you can just, when that kind of question comes up, we can direct you to a webinar that, unifies the conversation, because, Luke has his view of it. I have my view. Brett has his view of all of those different kind of topics, and it's important to have a unified message for the way we Cogitate views it. And then finally, we want to provide some things that we have, like a deeper insight to the Pro Fund Accounting software itself, where we're talking about the AP process and what does it really provide, and how does it really act with the end user, and how do you really, what kind of reports can you do around the types of things that do, how do you avoid a check, kind of like covering the whole AP system, in a way that, and that might be several webinars, but basically the idea is to cover that in a way that gives insight to even the experienced users. There'll be stuff in there that we'll be covering that they may not have delved into because it hasn't come up yet in their system, but it's good to know that it's available, kind of a thing. Same thing with like payroll, general ledger, post, things like that. All of that we want to cover in a way that is a lot more detail, or a lot more, what's right? How do you say that? A lot more depth, a lot more depth to what's going on, even behind the scenes, and how we, even going to the point where how we manage the information that you've given, that you're providing when you're keying that stuff in.
Tracy's asking, will we have a link in ProFund to get to the webinars?
You'll have a link in ProFund now that gets to our training page. Our training page is now going to have the webinar list on there. So, but as we schedule these, obviously we'll try to send out an email that actually works. I guess our last email blast didn't work.
Yeah, we'll address the email issues and we'll get those.
Yeah, we'll get those. Just make sure you sign up. If you haven't signed up, make sure you are signed up on our update notification page on our website. But yes, there won't be a link in the software to webinars because they come and go. But the link that goes to our training page will have a place there to see what webinars are coming up. And then, of course, if you have some idea that you'd like to have for a specific webinar or a trading video that you think we need now, we get it done now because we need it, just let us know, because obviously this is all for you guys, not really we're not doing this because we get kicks out of making webinars, although Jeff might be.
I do love me some webinars.
Yeah, he does love webinars. So, we're not doing this, just for that. We're trying to make sure that you guys are supported and can, use the software to its fullest extent.
Okay. Couple
All right.
questions. So
Sure.
From Gene, W4 create its own tax tab. Sorry, Gene, could you go into a little more detail? Oh, sorry, is that a specific webinar request, Gene?
We are putting together a video on the W4. That's
Yeah.
actually going to be coming out pretty quickly here.
Yep, that's one of our biggest yes, it's a webinar request. Okay, so yes, W4s will be a webinar in its entirety, and we will make sure that the tax tab is taken care of. It is addressed within the webinar.